So, good morning, everybody. It's an absolute enormous privilege to be here with the opportunity to talk to you about what this amazing charity has achieved in the last 20 years and to celebrate the power of community. Very pleased to welcome those of you in the room, the ever-increasing numbers as you beat the traffic, and also everybody that's here on the Zoom call. Can I just see, I know I can't see on the Zoom call, but can I see from those of you in the room, which of you are at your first conference? Are there any of you? Okay. So that's quite a few. So everybody else, please make sure to make everybody feel as welcome as the colour of their badge allows you to. That's, I think, the one caveat around there. And you're here at the start of our next 20 years. So this is a fantastic place to be at. We're joined today, as John mentioned, by some CLL consultants and by people from some of the pharmaceutical companies and by some former trustees. So anybody wearing a white badge is somebody that's had a particular connection with us over a period of time. So 20 years of achievement. So we're going to talk about 20 achievements over that period. So very straightforward approach. And these are the first 5 that we're going to talk about. And the very first one is about how we actually got started. And we have here a picture of the UK CLL Forum. So the forum exists to bridge the gap between scientists, clinicians, and patients. That's why it's there, why it's been there since 2000. And we are the patient arm of that charity. So we really fit into them incredibly well. And that group is very much, the members of that group, Ben, Samir, Piers, George, they're all members of the UK CLL Forum, the people that are here today, the consultants. And anybody that's who's who in the CLL or SLL community is a member of the UK CLL Forum. So we're very proud of our relationship with them. And you can't read what it says at the bottom of the slide, but it says the UK CLL Forum was established by Terry Hamblin in 2000 as an umbrella organisation for CLL in the UK. So what happened was that Jeanette Taylor actually was being treated by Terry Hamblin and talked to him early on in the 2000s. And as a result, that's how CLL Support came into being. It was all because of Jeanette. And I know Jeanette was hoping to be with us today, but I don't think she's arrived yet. I'm just checking on that. Right. So that led to our patient-led charity for patients and for carers. And in 2018, we became a charitable incorporated organisation. We just changed the format of the charity. And we're here, as the slide says, to inform, support and represent the CLL community. And the picture you've got here is of Jeanette with trustees Robert Cork and Howard Pearce. And they're sitting at a kitchen table. We've all been told over the years that CLL Support started at a kitchen table. And I found this picture, and I think this is the kitchen table. So that's how we started. And when somebody spoke to Jeanette very early on and said, how much funds have you got? And she said, we've got 150. And they said, 150,000. And she said, no, 150 pounds. Today, our revenue is of the order of 150,000. So we've made phenomenal progress over that period of time. So we're incredibly indebted to Jeanette for all she's done for us. And over the years, we've had very many trustees. You've got a fantastic photo shot of lots of them. Very sadly, the people in the area in the middle are trustees who are no longer with us, who've passed away. So Gary Bishop, Andrea Coburn, Lewis Troke, and Olga Jansen. So sadly, they're no longer with us. But many of the other people on this picture could well be here. And this picture is the first of 8 posters we're presenting to you today. We're very proud of our posters. So I can see some of you are squinting at this now because you can't see it. Well, that's because you can go outside and study it in great detail during the breaks, or if you're on Zoom, we'll be letting you putting it up on the website afterwards, so you'll be able to see the detail of who's there. And what you've got here are some former trustees, recent trustees, the current trustees, and all our current associates. So people that have done an awful lot to help us. And we also have various other key people. You can't see them enlarged outside, so you've got slightly bigger pictures of them now, but we've got Sarah and Cherry, who are our two members of our support team. We've got Ben, who's in fact sitting over there. We've got Pinky, who's sitting over there. And we've got Jackie. And we've got Matt behind the camera. So there are a whole load of really key people that have been helping us. And Sarah has been with us for quite some time. So what we wanted to do was just hear what Sarah thought, what her views were about CLL support.
Well, today we're joined by Sarah, our admin person, who's been with us for 14 years or thereabouts, and is the cornerstone of how we run the association. Sarah, thank you for taking the time to talk with us today. Can you tell us how it all began, please?
14 years ago, I just had my third child and I was looking for a flexible working arrangement to fit around the family. And I was introduced to Jeanette Taylor, who was one of the founder trustees. She was looking for somebody who could help with the charity's database and admin. Had a background in both of those areas. So I started doing a few hours a week with Jeanette, and it's grown from there.
How many trustees and members were we talking about back then when you started?
There were 3 trustees, including the treasurer. I think, if I recall correctly, the membership numbers were in the hundreds at that point. So it was a much smaller charity, and a lot of the work was done around Jeanette's kitchen table.
In my view, Sarah, you are the proverbial multitasker. So can you explain to our members and the delegates today really what your role encapsulates, please?
Well, my role is mainly to support the trustees, keep continuity as we get new trustees coming in. We have regular meetings where we discuss the focus that the charity is working on at the time, and I'm there to facilitate all of it. Lots of research, and being a small organisation, we don't have IT departments or project management departments. We discuss things, look at solutions and work it out, and keep the processes running so that all the members know what's going on with the charity.
Yeah, I mean, from my point of view, coming in as a trustee in 2019, you were extremely welcoming. You know, it's an induction process which you handle with consummate ease. In the early years, there must have been some significant challenges as the association started to grow and milestones.
The main thing that we were trying to do in the early days was to raise the profile of the charity and getting the word out to all of the medical community, especially, so that our leaflets and booklets were going out and to advertise what we could do to help patients. So getting in touch with the UK CLL Forum was one of the key roles that the trustees took on, and now we have a really good working relationship with them. At one point we had a mailing list for some of the clinics in the UK, but it wasn't easy to come by, and we would sit filling envelopes, sending out booklets. Now we have it online instead. A really significant moment in the early days was when we ran a 2-day conference in the Midlands. Had lots of top speakers from the UK, and we also had an international speaker who was Shaya Venka from CLL Topics, and the presentations were fantastic. It taught me a lot about running conferences and events, and it's all helped today with all the conferences that we run.
The role you play at conferences is pivotal by virtue of you're the meet and greet. You put all the packs together, and I suppose technology has played a big influence in things now that we've gone to Zoom.
Yeah, we've all had to take on board all of the video conferencing, and we now do a lot of webinars, a lot of meetings over Zoom, and we also use technology to help us with booking and planning the meetings, because it got a lot bigger and we couldn't have done it all manually. And also the online systems for donations as well, and things like Just Giving that have helped us. They're very good for small organisations because it's all set up there. and you sign up and you're able to use all of their functionality.
We must talk about COVID times because in everyone's life it was significant, but from a small association led by volunteers, it was a huge challenge. I recall back then it was just so constant in the first couple of months trying to get information out and all of that. What are your recollections?
Well, we all work remotely anyway, so there was no change there, business as usual. But the amount of queries and by telephone and by email, they just increased tenfold. And we ended up having to have a rota. The trustees all had to be on the rota. Everybody, put their time in, and I had to allocate all of the calls and queries. I didn't want anybody to burn out with all of the workload, so we kept a rota. Delegated sort of all the calls to people in their areas of expertise, and it was very, very full on for a while, but I think they all dealt with it amazingly. And then just keeping up with the information online, I think all of the trustees were constantly searching the websites and the media for anything that would affect the members so that we could get the information out to them very quickly. Especially with things like the supermarket food deliveries. So we helped them with letters, and the UK CLL Forum helped us with that as well. I wanted to give special thanks to a couple of trustees who worked tirelessly. Brian Garden, he provided so much news content and just kept us going with all the bulletins. He was looking at every website available so that everything was really out to the members quickly and was really accurate. And also to Lewis Troke, he was instrumental in setting up all of the webinars. He spent hours looking at Zoom, working out the best way to do it, and getting all of the speakers lined up and really presenting a great range of webinars that I think really helped people through the COVID times.
With all the information that was flying about at the time, there was a huge effort in behind the scenes to ensure that what we were putting out was verified.
Yeah.
So you've seen some changes over time, and you have a unique perspective because you are the constant all over the way through CLL support. Trustees come and go, but Sarah is there, and we're very appreciative. And I would like to formally and genuinely thank you for everything that you have done for us as trustees and for the members. But for the future, how do you see the future shaping up, Sarah?
I think we'll still carry on with what we're doing because I think we found what we do well, which is getting our newsletters and bulletins out, our conferences, support acts come along, and that's been a really good addition to the services that we offer, the helpline as well. I think the core of CLL support is people and the support that we offer, and that will never change. That's what the charity was set up for, and that's what it will continue to do. But we will work at making what we do better and also listening to the members through our surveys. The surveys are such an important part of what we do because we're gathering information from everybody about what they need from us. We're always going to be limited by resources and money, but we do what we can and listen to our members and support them the best we can. And we'll continue to do that. It's at the heart of what we do.
Great. Thanks, Sarah. Great perspective. And again, thank you for everything.
Thank you.
So I'll shout and we can edit it afterwards, but we're giving Sarah an Outstanding Contribution Award as a thank you for everything she's done over the years. So Sarah, thank you very much.
And I can guarantee you that Sarah hated that.
And she'll be really cross afterwards that we've done it. So I'm going to have a quick whiz now through all the other things we've been doing in the time I've got available. So the fifth achievement I wanted to talk about is how we're funded. So you can see we're funded by members and supporters, so all of you, but we're also funded by grants for pharmaceutical companies, and we're really pleased about that. And the other resource we have is the time of our volunteers, and I just want to recognise that because all of us either have CLL or are closely involved with somebody with CLL, and yet we're running a charity that you can see we're running very effectively. Some of us can't be here today because we're actually not so well or we're having treatment. So all the time we've got to work out how can we make sure we can still deliver despite the various challenges that we have. So part 2 of my slides is the middle 6 to 15 of our achievements, which we'll just have a quick look at. They're all worthy of further note. But the first one I'm going to mention, number 6, is our conferences. So you can read more about our conferences outside on the poster. We're very, very keen to make sure that at our conferences there's something for everybody. So whatever stage of your diagnosis, whoever you want to talk to, we'll try and provide that for you. And our next conference is in Edinburgh on the 7th of November. We're then very keen to communicate with you in a whole range of ways. So again, there's a poster you can have a look at outside. We're into posters at the moment. It's our big thing. And we'll be making them sure they're on the website afterwards for those of you on Zoom that can't look at these in any detail. So the website, social media, newsletters, bulletins, Health Unlocked, our international forum, the Under 60s WhatsApp group. And Nora can't be here today, but she's very keen that those of you from the WhatsApp group actually sort of wave at each other during the coffee breaks and talk to each other. So Mark, can I use you as an example of a member of the WhatsApp group? So find Mark, who's sitting on the middle table on the left, if you want to talk to him, if you're under 60. Slight caveat, I'm afraid. And then we have a helpline that you can contact. So that's all our communication. Very involved with publications. And we're very proud that any medical publications that we produce are actually signed off, if you like, by medical experts, by members of the UK CLL Forum. And in the middle of this chart is our vaccination guide. So whatever you look at, make sure that you've got a copy of that so you know what you should be doing to look after yourselves as much as possible. And then number 14 of our achievements is our relationships with our wider community. An awful lot of logos here. But the UK CLL Forum I've mentioned. The CLL Advocates Network is an international group that's involved with all matters CLL. John is actually going to Barcelona this weekend for their conference. The Blood Cancer Alliance, I sit on their executive group and contribute on behalf of CLL Support. Cancer 52 is an umbrella organisation for all the less well-known cancers. There are actually over 100 offers, but there were 52 when they started. But 55% of cancers are actually less common. So there's an awful lot of work there, and we liaise with them. We liaise with the various medical organisations, and we make sure we keep up to date with the ABPI, that's the Association of British Pharmaceutical Industry, so that we make sure we're following and our pharma partners are following all the guidance that we need to follow in our interactions with them. Number 15, the final one in the middle section, is all about Blood Cancer Awareness Month. So the September each year is Blood Cancer Awareness Month, and we do things during that period. So a few years ago, I think John was very involved with an installation that we did at Westfield Shopping Centre, and Nora was also very involved in that. And then the following year, there was an installation that actually travelled around the 4 nations of the UK, the devolved nations, which was featuring John's story. So John is very much a stalwart of CLL Support, been very involved for some time. And then more recently, we've been doing it ourselves a bit more. So in 2022, we produced some weekly films about living well with CLL. It's actually a phrase we've moved on from. We're now talking about living with CLL because we're trying not to sound as if it can be well for everybody. We're just wanting to be realistic in. So we do continually look at how we're doing things and how they might change. And then last year we produced 3 films on impacts and consequences of living with CLL. So that's us just making sure that we're representing your views your feelings, your experiences, and sharing them more widely to raise awareness of the whole situation. And then that takes me on to the third part of my slides, and the final 5 achievements during the 20 years, which are very much all about moving forward. So the first of these is very much about our webinars. So if we go back to 2020 or 2019, how many of you had heard of Zoom? Okay, I've got 2 people at the back that knew of Zoom already then, so very well done. That's probably about right. It's probably about 2% of the population that had heard of Zoom before then. But we couldn't wait during the pandemic to get going putting on webinars, and we were really keen to provide information and support and to be there for the CLL community. And in putting on these webinars, the person that was behind the putting on of them was Lewis Troke, so I want to recognise his contribution yet again. He has helped enormously with our technology. It took 4 of us to do what Lewis had done at the previous conference. So we're getting a bit better now, but wanting to recognise very much his achievements. And we talk about webinars, but we need to be a bit careful that there are webinars where, like today, where the people that are attending can't see each other but can see the speakers or the presentation, and they're webinars. And then there are Zoom calls where you can actually all see everybody else on the call. And we've been using a mixture of those. So we've been having calls where we can then go into breakout rooms. So we're recognising the opportunity that Zoom gives us to enable our community to come together in an extremely convenient way for people. You don't have to travel anywhere, particularly in the winter months. You don't have to go out and risk being somewhere you don't feel comfortable being, because you can join what we're doing on webinars. And so our conference you can join through a webinar. And some of our sessions that we run are expert-led. You can see here that we actually had one that Ben ran a little while ago, the first picture we've got here. Some of them are patient stories. The one in the picture in the middle is about people learning about exercise and nutrition on one of our webinars. Some of them are keeping people up to date with development. So the bottom one is an update on one of the clinical trials. And they're all aiming to inform and support members. So that's the whole webinar angle. And we really see the opportunity of this increasing our reach, because we can typically meet 100 of you in person at a conference, but we can have just as many people again watching online, and we can have many more people afterwards looking at the videos from the conference on our website. So there's an enormous multiplier effect as we go along with sharing what we're doing. So you can't get away from the benefits of meeting people face to face, but if that's not possible, or if you want to do more things than just coming to face-to-face meetings, then there are far more opportunities. Then number 17 of the 20, you're building up, if you like, to today. Number 17 is about Support Act. So we've got Pinky with us. So Pinky Jimenez did a fantastic job creating an online resource. So the open access wellbeing resource I mention here was created for us by Pinky, and we're incredibly grateful for that. And you can read all about this on another of our posters outside. So you've got a pretty picture here of what you can go out and read in detail. And the whole idea of Support Act, and we launched this on World CLL Day in 2021, the whole idea of Support Act is actually around being there for people, whether they're people with CLL or carers and partners of people with CLL, people who are unnerved, worried, frightened, scared, all sorts of things about the whole issue of having a condition that's treatable, but as things stand, not curable, and one that impacts on how you go about your life in various ways. And so we've now got a resource that will help you deal with help support your well-being. And we also are running sessions, as quite a lot of you in the room know, with Pinky, where we can actually explore how people are feeling and help them cope with the whole ongoing dilemma almost that is CLL. You know, sort of you don't want your whole life to be about CLL, but you need to take it into account enough to make sure that the rest of your life is as fulfilling as possible. It's a question of balance. And the resource is based on acceptance and commitment therapy. So it's very much around accepting your diagnosis or your partner's diagnosis, that it's there, and recognising that's the situation. But then working out, what do you want to do going forward because of that? What do you want to commit to? What matters to you, so that you can try and make all your decisions and your actions as fulfilling as possible for you. So that's Support Act, and we see this as very much one of our USPs, if you like. We're very, very proud of it. We think it's really important. It actually scored highest in the feedback you gave us in our survey that I'll come on to in a minute. So that was number 17. Number 18 of the 20 is the survey. So we first did a survey a couple of years ago, and we've repeated it this year. Over 1,100 of you replied to our survey. We've got 3,500 members of CLL Support. I think Sarah was saying when she took over that we'd got about 100 that was about 2010. So we've grown hugely. And 1,100 of you sent the survey back. And so we're just so pleased about that. In fact, completed it online, no question of postage. And in response, we're trying to work out what do we need to do because of what you told us. And some of the things that you were telling us, one of the really things that made us stop and think was that when we asked you about the impact of CLL on your quality of life, both physically and emotionally, it was the carers who felt more affected by the diagnosis than the people with CLL. And that really was a surprise. And it was there in the first survey. It's there even more in the second survey. So that's one of the key issues we're wanting to do something about. And the other thing is that over 60% of people diagnosed with CLL are male, but over 50% of the members of CLL Support are female. So we're trying to work out, how do we make sure that we're offering something that will appeal to men, as well as what we're offering that already appeals to women, so that we make sure we're as relevant as possible and providing the information that people need when they're first diagnosed. Whether they choose to get very involved with us or not, we're just wanting to make sure we're there for all the CLL community. So, as we're talking about celebrating the power of community, what we're wanting to do over the next few months is set up 2 new communities. One where we're going to run, these are all going to be on Zoom, where we're going to try and have sessions for carers, where the carers can talk about things that are affecting them, but not involving the people that have actually got CLL. And we're wanting to have some sort of network for men. There's competition going on as to whether we refer to it being men's sheds or whatever we choose to call it, but it's about trying to come up with something that would appeal to the majority of the people, which men are, that are diagnosed with CLL. So it isn't a problem unique to CLL Support. Women tend to find out more about health conditions and get more involved in things, but we're just wanting to make sure we're there enough for men. And then just one point I want to mention is that we're now currently trying to do more around patient and public involvement and engagement at CLL Support. And we're just beginning, we've set up a group that we're calling the STAR group, which stands for Studies, Trials and Research. This is very much work in progress. But what we're trying to do, if you look at the Inform on the right, we're going to have more information on our website. the convening on the left of the star. We're going to be having more opportunities, more webinars where we can talk to you about research, about clinical trials, so we can inform you more and see if you want to get involved more. The connecting at the bottom of the star is around the question of all those bodies I showed you earlier, where we can engage with them and get involved with them. And then we want to be promoting what matters to all of us. So we're wanting to find out the CLL community's views about treatment, about quality of life, about all sorts of issues, so that we can feed those through when new research is being considered. So that's our work in progress. And this is an example of, just as we're developing our academic presence, if you like, at Madrid conference, when we were invited to put up a poster about what we all felt like when we were told we'd got CLL. So again, this is something you can look at outside. And that takes me on to number 20 of my achievements, which is Challenge 20 itself, which is what we've been doing during the whole of this year, celebrating that. And there'll be more about that later on. So I'm just ending by saying how you can help. And I'm hoping that you'll have seen that we're doing a pretty good job, that we feel we're punching above our weight, and we're very proud of what we've been achieving. And very proud of the community that we have created. But we continually need new trustees and others keen to help us. I've already been talking to one or two of you today about the possibility of getting involved. And in fact, what we're wanting to do on the 10th of October is we're going to run a webinar where you can come along and find out more about what that might entail. And then, as John mentioned earlier, there's the opportunity, if you want to make a contribution today. But can I just end by thanking all of you, whether you're in the room or whether you're on Zoom, for all you've done to help us do what we've been able to do over our first 20 years. So thank you all very much indeed, and here's to many more years in the future.